it seems like everybody who has anything to do with the Northwest Hawaiian Islands has this concept that they're pioneering something, you know, and I thought I was, pioneer.
It was a venture. You had to prepare for this. And where we were going, there wasn't anybody else around.
You're looking for French Frigate Shoals, which is a very low atoll with no high ground, and you're wondering, where are we? Those days we only had Loran in those first years in the early 80s up there. So you're trying to tap the receiver and make sure that it's actually working, and you're wondering about the fuel situation.
I think I took bottom fishing from fishing the main islands to as far as you can go, fishing up in the Northwest. You know, once I decided that was my career, then I tried to take it to the farthest I could go, you know. That means big boats and 21-day fishing trips. But over the years, I think we brought in thousands, literally maybe hundreds of thousands of pounds of bottom fish.
The Northwestern Hawaiian Islands is known as a pristine swath of ocean, dotted with small islands and atolls. Now known as the Papahanaumokuakea National Monument, it's always been that way, even as some of Hawaii's most intrepid fishermen ventured far into the area. It was a hard way to make a living, but it was also an adventure.
It was quite a kind of a expedition formulating technique. You couldn't just jump on your boat and go run out to a log floating off of Barber's Point by 6 or 7 miles. No, didn't work.
I did those things primarily because the Northwest Hawaiian Islands really interest me. And when I was fishing around home, I would always run up to Molokai or on past Maui on my small boats and push them to the limit. And I just started looking at this map and saying, gee, I want to go over there. No thought about trying to make any money, but I mean, you just wanted to see what it was like, and it was a lot of fun, being up here in those times. There was actually, when I did it, I thought, oh boy, I'll be some kind of pioneer.
A lot of the helo boats launched West Hawaii, started fishing cross seamount, weather buoys, got real crowded, started getting like 60 boats. Not at one time, but 60 boats working the outside fishery, and that's what drove me to the Northwest Hawaiian Islands. It was like peace of mind and hardly any boats, and it was really nice.
The trips were a minimum of a week long. It's not just a couple of days out to over to the Penguin Banks and back, or maybe a 3-day trip to the North Shore of Molokai and back. No, it was a venture at the time. You'd see an occasional fishing boat going back and forth. And you get on the radio, hi, how are things? Oh, we're fine, how are you? Oh, I'll be here another day, and yeah, we're going out now, and yeah, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's like, I guess, the days of the Old West of America. You just didn't see anybody. You're a mountain man, and you very, very rarely ran into anybody.
Going hundreds of miles further away from port also meant getting away from the competition. And working a different fishery meant securing a better market.
When you're tuna fishing and you're out there fishing yourself, and then you have all these local people, people that live here with boats, and then they all run out and go fishing, and the market gets flooded. And it just seemed like it was a way to get out of the tuna industry and get into something that was
higher value.
Yeah, not only was it higher value, but it was more consistent. And the opportunity too. I remember years ago meeting Dave. He used to fish the Fortuna. I remember meeting him actually at a bar and drinking with him, and he was telling us how great it was fishing up in the Northwest. And this is before I believe it was permitted up there. I think it was just kind of a wide open. And it just sounded like a fun thing to do, and you can make more money at it.
I did about 10 or 15 years fishing around Maui County, Big Island, Kauai. And then I kind of graduated to fishing up in the Northwest Hawaiian Islands, like from Nihoa, Nekra Island. And then I think I got a permit. After about 5 years of that, I got a permit to fish Ho'omalo Zone, which is from Necker to Midway. And I did about 15 years up there with bigger boats, obviously. But yeah, it's been a long career of bottom fishing.
There was certainly some money to be made, but there wasn't anything easy about it.
You have some really slow days where you'd catch only 100 pounds or something. You start freaking out, you know. The crew would get grumpy, and, you know, sometimes you drop down and the sharks would just steal your whole rig right off the bat, and constant problem. It's up to the captain to move the boat to another bank or switch species, or, you know, just keep looking, and then all of a sudden you start catching and everybody's happy and you'd have progress.
It's a hard job, you know. It's not very many people can do what we do. Not that it's just the hard work, being away from the family and the dedication it takes to do this kind of job, and the risk involved with being out there. But you gotta really love the ocean. If you don't love being in the ocean and fishing, then it's just not worth it.
So it takes from here to Nihoa, 153 miles is maybe about 22 hours at a slow speed, and that'll get you up into the east side of Nihoa.
The thing was, if you traveled far, the farther you went, the faster you had to catch the fish, right? Unless it's not worth it.
Where we go, it's so far out, and the weather is a big factor. So if it's blowing hard, you're gonna have a hard time anchoring, and you're gonna have a hard time, you know, just staying in one place.
Once in a while, if the waves are breaking on the deck or something, then it's hard to fish, or too much wind.
Three-man crew, three of us go out, and you know, it was just back-breaking, physical, roping these fish, you know.
I wasn't one waterman before, but when I went fishing, especially long range, at first I got sick, you know. I'd bring the seasick pills and get sick for like 3 days. Then after my body got used to, but I loved it out there, though. Yeah, it's peaceful, you know, peaceful.
As it is in the main Hawaiian Islands, the bottom fish fishery in the northwestern Hawaiian Islands was done with relatively simple gear.
No one seems to realize that bottom fishing in Hawaii is one hook, one fish.
The style of fishing and the gear hasn't really changed, just maybe some swivel improvements, and, you know, but it's generally the same caca line we've been using for the last 30 years. The same gear I use in the north, I use here, and it works. You know, so it's basically the same rig. I use 4 hooks. You got a lead, 4 hooks, and a chum bag. That's basically, some guys use more hooks or less, but that fishery hasn't changed much in all the years.
While catching more was always good, what was caught and when it was caught really mattered.
One of my other friends that used to fish up there, his trick was always to get in 3 days before the holiday. No matter how it was, he would structure his calendar to get in just before the holiday. You're going to get really good prices because everybody's trying to buy for the holiday.
Fishing up where I did it in the Northwest is a little different from here. It's all timing. For me, I would always try to come in on a high demand time, either New Year's, Christmas. And if it meant staying out for Christmas and coming in for New Year's, that's what I would do. And I think over the years I hit them all. And you generally, with the higher the demand, the higher the price. At the auction, if there's a big convention or there's like a holiday, New Year's, redfish, onaga, culturally that's a fish that everybody wants to eat during the New Year's. So I try to target that fish and be in at least 3 days before New Year's, and you get a higher price. So yeah, you try to target special times.
Well, you want to catch the snapper, right? Because that's a money fish. But anytime you bring in too much of one species, then the price goes down. Like when I fished with Bill Strickland, we'd go out and if we go for paca, we'd catch like 600 pieces paca, and then we work the rest of the fish, I see. But he's the only guy that he put up numbers before we left, and we came home with the numbers. He would say, okay, we're going for 600 piece paca, 100-piece hapapu, 100-piece onaga, and we would do them, you know.
Because I was limited by ice. I would pump the ice, it would begin to melt, I would go up to Noho, I would catch fish, it would melt faster, and then I had to turn and run for home while still figuring out how much ice I had left. I used to boggle the minds of some of the crewmen that I had when we'd get up, we'd head home, and he'd go start putting the lure out. What are you doing? Oh, you might be smiling my eye around up here, you know. And I said, yeah, so? Well, don't you want to catch some more fish? And I said, come here, you know. Open up the thing. See that? Yeah, there's plenty of ice. And it won't be there in a day, and it takes us a day and a half to get back to Honolulu.
Ice was an obsession for these long-range fishermen. Ice meant quality, and quality meant profit.
You know, our ice, we started off with generally 10, 11,000 pounds. And usually the last couple of days of fishing, we wanted high-end fish because we didn't want to burn that ice up on something like a Butaguchi. So we were, I can't say that we really targeted those unless we knew that we were only going to be out 4 or 5 days versus our 8 or 10-day trips.
Yeah. And quality was real important. Really take care of your fish.
Yeah, it's got to look good.
Got to look good. Kill them right away.
Always mat on carpet.
Yep, lay them on carpet, keep the scales in place, brine them, get them sipped, don't leave them in the brine too long. Don't have the brine swimming like this, busting them up.
Yeah,
and as soon as they're, then dry pack them.
Yeah.
And dry pack them.
Yeah, we dry pack. And this might sound a little corny, but this fish gave its life for us. Yeah. We're going to get this fish back to market in the best possible shape we can and get the most money for it we can.
Yep.
And that was always kind of our train of thought on our fishing trips.
I had a split hatch that I put in that boat, and so that I could freeze part of the catch rather nicely, you know, rather well. I had it, the boat was fast, so we could make a long distance and, you know, fill the boat up. And with the freezer, I could use other species that normally, you know, you couldn't hold too well, like Butaguchi and some ulua. And I did that. I thought it was a real smart idea. Maybe in the end it didn't exactly turn out to be, but it allowed me to bring back, you know, kind of large loads that, even though it wasn't a lot of money for these other species, it was some, and it helped pay the bills.
I think the best feeling you can get for fishing in general is having your boat full of fish and you're traveling home knowing you got a nice load of fish, you know. For me, it was up in the Northwest, and to get home would take me about 5 days. So for 5 days, you got a good feeling, you know.
But then there were the risks of being on a boat far off in the Pacific Ocean.
Close calls, oh, plenty of those. Traveling at night on the big boat, it's important somebody's on watch. And we almost hit one of my crew almost ran into a freighter by Kauai once. I woke up looking up to the boat, but that could have been a bad thing. But you gotta always, when the boat's traveling at night, you gotta always have somebody up watching. Guys will be so tired, they fall asleep. I fine them $100 every time I catch them sleeping. Sometimes they come back, they owe me money. You know what I mean?
We had some, you know, your typical gale weather up there where, you know, we're not fishing for 3 or 4 days because it's just terrible, and you have to go out and slip the anchor line a few feet every 4 hours or so because you don't want it working in the same spot. If you break it off, now you're drifting in this stuff. And
yeah, I remember that time down at Necker, we were trying to get our anchors trying to get them to hook up on the bank on the top. And it just kept on dragging
off.
All the
looks like a broken umbrella.
Yeah, so we put two of them together, and it did the same thing. Didn't even slow us down.
That was pretty bad weather.
That was pretty bad weather.
Water spout came at me. I gunned it, tried to get out of there, and it was like no use. It was coming at me, and then it dissipated. I had freighters coming in on me, and I'm on the emergency channel trying to get a hold of them, and they keep coming, and submarines want me to change course and come up to 25 knots, and in the middle of the night, and I said, sorry, I don't have that kind of speed, and I'm low on fuel. I gotta go in and unload, and you know, they just wanted to play around, you know. All kinds of things. I mean, catch on fire, you know. I was 100-something miles out and had to deal with it. All kinds of things. Yeah, it was fun. It was like thrill of the hunt, you know. It was part of my life. I loved it. But it was good to come home.
The fishing, the money, they were all attractive, but just being out there was its own reward too.
And you see a sand spit in front of you after traveling 100 miles, which would be what, all night and perhaps 3/4 of a day, and there's a sandbar right in front of you with waves peeling off of it. That's a pretty tremendous sight to see, and then behind that, able to get behind the shoals. So that area there is really beautiful, really, really beautiful area. Some of the other things, NWHI, real beautiful island. Adams Bay, a lot of seals, a lot of wildlife, a lot of Hawaiian, a lot of terraced home sites. It's a really beautiful island over there, yeah.
At sunset, if you're anchored way up on the east side and the sun is setting, it's a beautiful sight to see NWHI in the background with the sun setting. I can feel like that mana, you know.
Not all of the fish brought back was for sale. Hawaii has a long tradition of sharing what's caught.
We don't sell everything. You got to give away, take care of the people around you, you know. I just kind of give my neighbors fish because they're courteous when I go in and out with my trailer boat. Yeah, you gotta spread it around.
A lot of fish get given away to family. If not, if you didn't do good, then you know you can't give away too much, right? You gotta pay for your expenses and stuff. So, but yeah, family definitely gets fish.
For me, it was giving my family, because we have a big family, so everybody would get enough fish. And now I pretty much still do the same thing. I don't catch as much as I used to, but I still try to give enough of it away to make everybody happy, you know.
Then there was the fish itself. Everyone has their favorites.
I like the Budaguchi. That's my favorite. A lot of oil, moist. It's a good fish. You can make mostly panko style, you know, the regular way everybody makes it. But the fish holds its moist, and it's got a lot of flavor. Yeah, if you dry it, it almost tastes like abalone.
Gendai, steamed Chinese style. It's just silky smooth. It's beautiful. It's fatty fish. It's a real nice, rich fish to eat, and steaming, of course, is the way to do that kind of fish.
Probably Gendai. It's got a bigger bone structure, yeah. Baked, you know, wrapped in aluminum foil and baked, yeah.
I like the Gendai and the Hogo. They have a natural flavor, like, you know, that's why they have flavor. You don't have to add anything, like.
Onaga. I'll fillet it, and I like to fry it, panko style.
I kind of like sea bass.
Mine's Gendai.
Gendai. Steamed.
Well, on the boat, I don't know if we steamed it though.
No, we'd fry it.
Fry it on the boat.
Yeah, we'd saute it. With we'd saute it with butter and.
It tastes better when it's sauteed rather than fried.
A little white wine and capers.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that sounds good.
But as the old saying goes, nothing good lasts forever.
So the entire Northwest became a coral reef reserve with restricted fishing. We could still fish, but it was given a 5-year period to morph into a sanctuary. That was the concept anyway at the time. So we knew the end was at hand. And sure enough, you know, a couple of years later, Bush came along after some tremendous battles being waged between the preservationists and the conservationists. I like to call us fishermen the conservationists, whereas the people who want to preserve the fish for no other use except to preserve them, well, they're the enviromaniacs. Well, they were struggling desperately against the fisheries people, the conservationists, who said, hey, we can have our cake and eat it too if we manage it properly. So big battle. So Bush ended it all. He just said, to heck with all this stuff, I'm making a monument, and everybody's out, bang. In fact, the only bright light that I've had at all was when I got this email that said all the fisheries consuls in the United States have written the president to tell him to open the monuments up to fishing. But I'm not going to put too much hope on it.
I would love to be one of the guys to, you know, to go back up there. I used to fish up there. This is what my dad taught me. I didn't go to college. this is all I did was commercial fish.
I know that there's being some consideration about reopening up the Northwest Hawaiian Islands, or there's a movement. I hear about a movement going on. And I always felt that that was an extremely well-managed zone, because it's hundreds of miles of banks. It's not, it's a huge area. That
And it's hard to get to.
Only 6 boats were allowed to, and it was quite expensive and difficult to get to. We were the area's police.
Yep.
When we saw a foreign vessel, which we would see frequently, 3-4 times a year, and they'd come in with their trawls and they'd trawl over the top of a bank, you could go over to that bank and there was just nothing left. And my concern is that's still going on. I have to wonder how well is it being policed up there anymore.